If you're over the age of 40, remember this. If you do not use a range of motion, you will lose that range of motion. But just by performing a few key exercises, you can unlock your hips, open up your spine, and start moving like a kid again. In this video, I'm going to show you 3 kettlebell exercises that should be in everybody's program. I'm even going to throw in a bonus exercise at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. The Prying Goblet Squat is your one-stop shop for opening up your hips, knees, and ankles. Deep squatting is a fundamental human position. It's not a feat of flexibility. If your ankles, knees, and hips are working as they're supposed to, this should be a very comfortable and very pain-free position. The problem is that most people have spent so much time sitting in chairs, they've lost this ability. And using the kettlebell is going to help you get it back. So the most common challenges with deep squatting are loss of ankle mobility, which is going to be displayed by you being unable to squat flat-footed and your heel coming up, or a little bit of loss of core strength, which is going to manifest by you leaning forward rather than sitting tall. I'll go over how to address each of these in turn. So the first thing, if you find that your ankles feel tight and that seems to be the limiting factor, this is a fantastic drill to isolate this area and help you close this angle, right? We're just going to put the kettlebell on top of the knee. We're going to push the knee out over the toes, and we're just going to make little half moon shapes, right? Just little shapes. And over time, this will unlock your ankles and allow you to access deeper ranges of motion in your squat. The reason that most people who don't train deep squatting find themselves leaning forward is that as we squat down, our center of mass, which is here, goes backwards. And in order to counterbalance that, if we don't have perfect lower body mobility and a little bit of core strength, we have to bias our upper body forward, right? To kind of keep our center of mass balanced. And what happens with a lot of people, if they're really tight, is they sit up here and they end up falling backwards, right? So we need a way to counterbalance you without leaning forward. And this is where the kettlebell comes in. So we're going to start with the kettlebell here, and we want to hold it up and out a little bit. Now, I like the bottoms up position. It provides a greater degree of counterweight than the more traditional version. We're going to sit down, hold the kettlebell out, and we're going to bring the elbows inside of the knees, and we're going to settle in. Now, while you're down here, this is an active position. So we're doing 2 things. We're pushing out with the elbows, and we're pulling out using our own hip muscles. So we're getting a little 2-way action. And once we're settled in, it's all about just moving around, sitting tall, and getting comfortable in the position and accumulating time. Good goal for this position is a minute. If you're able to get down here, hang out pain-free for 60 seconds, you're doing pretty darn well. Okay, so let's say that you still have a little bit of a forward lead. You're still a little bit rounded, right? Well, there's an exercise called Simba squat or a heartbeat squat that can help correct this. And all we're going to do is push the kettlebell out in front and use that as an opportunity to sit up tall and then back. So push it out, sit up tall and back. So by reaching the kettlebell out in front, we magnify that counterbalance effect, and it's going to allow you to really sit tall, and then we're going to come back. And over time, you can start making those holds a little bit longer, and then start playing around back in the original position, and usually that will fix the issue. One of the reasons the Kettlebell Good Morning is such a fantastic exercise is because not only does it lengthen almost the entire backside of the body, but it will also strengthen almost the entire backside of the body. The Kettlebell Good Morning is a hip hinging exercise. So let's go over the fundamentals of the movement, and then we'll talk about the specifics of the kettlebell version. Hip hinge involves hips sliding back. So a nice way to get this movement dialed in is take both hands, chop them on your hips, and push back. Now, a few things to notice in this position. One is that the should stay vertical, right? You should be able to wiggle your toes because the weight is a little bit more biased towards the back side of the foot, and you should feel a pretty good stretch in your hamstrings and glutes. From here, we're gonna stand up. Every time we stand up, we're gonna squeeze the glutes at the top, and then we're gonna return to the hinge position. So now with the kettlebell, we're gonna bring the kettlebell behind and rest it on the upper back. Now, we're gonna think about pulling the elbows wide the entire time. If you keep pulling your elbows wide, if you have that intention, it's actually going to be very difficult for you to round your back. So just by thinking of this, it's almost gonna guarantee you that you keep your upper back in a good position. From here, we want the feet as wide apart as you need to feel balanced. Nice and tall, pull the elbows back and go into that hip hinge. And up into the hip hinge. Really find that hamstring glute stretch and up. And when you're done with the lift, release one arm, bring the kettlebell around and put it down. The kettlebell arm bar is a fantastic exercise for unlocking your thoracic spine and opening up your shoulders. I'm going to show you the body weight version first so you can really get the movement dialed in, and then we'll move on to the kettlebell. Our setup looks a lot like a Turkish get-up if you're familiar with that exercise. We have one knee pointing at the ceiling, one foot straight out, this arm up pointing directly to the ceiling, and this arm out to the side. Now with this shoulder, where we want to keep this shoulder down and away from the ear. So think about as much space between the top side shoulder and your ear as you can. Now we're going to take this hand, reach it overhead. First action happens right here in this leg. We're going to push. So pushing off that right leg until the hips are stacked on top of each other. We're going to pause here, make sure we're feeling stable, and then this leg is going to step over. Now that right foot's going to serve as a little bit of a hook to pull the hip down. Goal is to get the hips as square to the ground as you can. Eye line is up, looking up, but not to the point where there's straight in the neck. When you're done with the set, we're going to relax, roll onto the back, bring the foot back to the start position, and then kettlebell is going to come down, do the other side. If you've gotten the bodyweight version down and you're feeling really comfortable, the kettlebell version is just a short hop. Everything's the same. Pushing off, getting to this point, making sure everything feels secure. This foot's going to step over, get a little bite on the ground to pull the hips square. Now this is the arm bar position, right? You want to relax into it, let it open you up a little. Now, when you're done with your hold, just relax, roll onto your back, return to the start position and use both hands or one hand, just lower the kettlebell and then do the other side. The kettlebell arm bar is one of those lifts you don't want to go super heavy with. As an example, I currently am pressing the 32 kilogram. That's my working weight for overhead presses. I'm doing the kettlebell arm bar with a 12 kilogram. So much lighter kettlebell. Generally with loaded mobility, you want to use the least amount of weight possible to get the result you're looking for. As far as how long to hold the position goes, with the kettlebell arm bar, you want to keep it to between 10 and 30 seconds. This is not a position you want to go very long on your hold time for, because if you do get fatigued, there's a possibility the kettlebell may pull you into ranges of motion you are not yet ready for. It's much better to do multiple sets of the kettlebell arm bar of shorter duration than try and do one super long set. So I promised at the start of the video we were going to do a bonus mobility exercise. I'm going to show you the kettlebell Cossack squat. The first three exercises in the video are need to haves. Every single person needs to be doing some version of those exercises. The kettlebell Cossack squat is a little bit different. It's more for those of you who want that little bit extra, that want to get stronger at odd angles or who want to open up even more range of motion. So we're going to start holding the kettlebell and we want to set the feet about a hip and a half distance wide. Now we're going to bring this hip to this heel. At the same time, we're going to hold the kettlebell out in front, and as we lower, watch my left leg, it's going to rotate up to the ceiling. So just like with the goblet squat, this is helping me sit tall. I'm going to push off the working leg, bring the kettlebell to my chest, push it out, sitting into that left heel, rotating the right foot up, and up. The Cossack Squat is also a great strength exercise. Once you get comfortable and you feel like you're very strong in this position, you can really start loading it up and you can build some of that odd angle strength, right? That strength that's not straightforward and back, like so much of the stuff we do in the gym, but the kind of strength that really applies to the field of play and to real life. So if the Cossack Squat is not yet accessible to you, here's a nice little intermediary drill. We're gonna drop down and then we're just gonna slide across. I'm keeping my feet flat and just opening up the hips that way. Now when we do this, we want to avoid the knees collapsing in. So the intention is always to be pulling the knees apart. Okay, give that one a try. So loaded mobility is almost the polar opposite of strength training. With strength training, the idea is to continually use heavier weights. With loaded mobility, the idea is to continually use lighter weights, because as you get more flexible, you will be able to get into these positions much more comfortably just using your own body. That's the outcome we're looking for, right? Physical freedom. Now, as to where you put these in your program, there are a bunch of different options. One is use them as a warm-up for conventional strength training. Number two is do a separate workout during the week where you do all of these kettlebell drills. And three, my favorite is if you are a particularly tight and bound up person, is do these every single day. Mobility is one of those adaptations that responds really well to higher frequency work. So the more you do these, the faster your progress and the better you're gonna get. So if you would like to see more videos focused on loaded mobility and this kind of training, please leave a comment and let me know. I'm making this channel to try and be as helpful as possible to you. And that kind of feedback is invaluable in letting me know which kind of videos I should be making. And if you found the information in this video helpful, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. Thank you so much for your time today, and I'll see you in the next video.